All right. Hi, Akash. How you doing? Hope you're doing well as well. Okay. Hi, Vamsi. I'm sure people can chime in and say what I'm up to, but I'm gonna try to turn on the camera in a little bit on my workbench, and I'll be trying to connect a Intel RealSense camera to a Raspberry Pi. So just stick around, you'll see what it's about. And then, yeah, on this window that you see on the screen, I just connected to my Raspberry Pi, did a remote login, and instead of connecting the Pi to, which is a single board computer, I don't know if you know what it is. I'll bring it up so you can actually see it. But instead of connecting that computer to a monitor and a keyboard, I just use the screen here to connect to it and run commands and try to make it work with the little camera. Yeah. You'll see it in just a second. Second camera I'm trying to set up so you can actually see it on the screen. Right now it's just a black image, but hopefully this works. That side is good. Ah, there we go. Just good old trick of unplugging it and plugging it back in. So yeah, this is a little Intel RealSense camera. Let's put it that way so people can see it. Thank you, Akash. It's I found it fun, and thank you for joining the stream and sharing in the fun with me. I haven't used that camera before, so I'll try to set it up, see how this goes. Well, I need to install Vim first. I think it should come by default with Raspbian, but it is what it is. Then swap size, change it to 2048. And I guess we're rebooting or not. That's kind of interesting that this is hot swappable. Alright, let the installation fun begin. Might take a while. So, here it goes. See. Let me trying to refresh the page I have on this monitor so I can see your messages without looking this way. All right. So Akash, you're doing lots of learning. Thanks. I'm glad the videos are useful. For me, it gives me a chance to play with the electronics. And I'm glad that not only do I get to play, but I make something that it's useful for some of you. So thanks for letting me know. All right, ESP hacks, nice. I try to keep them basic so that people can actually use the code. I find that some of the makers, creators, they end up making like a huge project. And if I want to use a piece of it for my own personal purpose, it's a little bit difficult to extract that piece of code. So if you see my videos, they're very basic, but you can use that piece of code as is and then turn it into your own application. So that's my goal. Hopefully that's how it's working. I'm glad to hear that's the case for you as well, Bamsi. Of course. Hopefully this is solved with a little update, which I should have done before. Might as well do an upgrade. It's a brand new. If you have used a Raspberry Pi, earlier today I was live streaming and I got to a point, I did other things and I got to a point where I was flashing a brand new image for the Raspberry Pi, and it usually takes about 10 minutes. So I finished the stream there and then got on with my day, and I'm just coming back to it. So it's just a brand new image. So I'll update and upgrade it. And alright, apparently I don't need to do any upgrades. Great. I might have upgraded before actually. But let's see if this works. Nope. Alright. So we'll try to install as many of this as we can and take it from there. But yeah, it's not finding. I might need to add a repository actually to this, but it didn't say. So let the Google fun begin. Thanks so much for the kind words. I'm glad you like the tutorials. Gonna try. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm gonna go for Achita. So thank you so much. I guess if I jump on issues, there might be something there, but let's just start Googling stuff. Yep, it just goes back to our repository to the issues, but same problems I'm having. Let there be a solution, so I don't have to figure it out myself. Alright, there is a solution. Doesn't seem that trivial, but it is what it is. At least they're working with a Raspberry Pi 4, the guide I was following, which is just a README on this repository. It was for a Raspberry Pi 3, so it seems that if I follow this, I should be able to get the camera working. Nice. Alright. Ignore the error and continue to the next install command. Alright, I like what I see. I hate it when they include this little dollar sign as part of the command. I know it's to indicate that you're on the prompt, but it's not that trivial to copy, paste the line, whatever. I'll just use, I'll cheat and use the URL bar to do it. Is anybody working on any projects right now? And a follow-up question to that, how many people are working on ESP related projects and how many are working with the Raspberry Pi? I think most of you, if I were to take a guess, are working with a ESP8266, ESP32. I'm trying to do more videos with the Raspberry Pi, hopefully get more folks involved in using both. So, but I'll always go back and forth between microcontrollers and single board computers. I see, Vamsi. Yeah, I do the same. I go back and forth. What are you working on with the Raspberry Pi? Gonna multitask and at the same time answer some of the comments that some of you leave. Thank you always for letting me know if something is wrong with the video, if you want to see another video made, or if you have any questions about that video. So I try to reply to I do reply to every single comment. So sometimes it takes me a while, but I get to all of them. Nice, you're doing a mesh network with the Raspberry Pi. Nice. Is it a whole bunch of Raspberry Pis in the mesh, or do you have other devices like, yes, combination of microcontrollers and Raspberry Pis or other single board computers? I don't have that many comments. Actually, yeah. Alright. Next round of installation. Alright. And again. Local IP, which I plan to make public. Alright. Yeah. So very good question, Achita. I'm gonna there's a couple of ways. I'll give you the explanation, and then I have a couple of videos that you're welcome to use, because as you show, you'll find the code there. But number one is using services like ThinkSpeak, for example, is a popular one, where you connect your ESP8266 over your local Wi-Fi to a network, to a website, and in this case it's ThinkSpeak, and you add the code that they give you to the ESP8266, and it sends the data, or receives messages from that server, from that website. And one of them is ThinkSpeak, right? You see that you can post the data, they'll do charts for you, but they handle all of the things that you want to do with your ESP8266. So that's limited, right? It's not like they can run your own code. Another one is called UV-Dots. And these are not sponsor messages. It's what I use, and you can watch a couple of videos on me using their services. And yeah, but like I said, it's limited because you can only do what they allow you to do, so to speak. And I have a what I would call a very comprehensive tutorial on how to make your own, instead of using their service, how to make your own. But the gist of it is that you always use an external thing, an external website, where your ESP8266 sends data to, and then when you're on the other side of the world, you access the website. You don't access the ESP8266 directly. So unless you want to do something like port forwarding or run a server on your network, and I don't necessarily advise that. I think it's better for the communication to be, you send it to say something like an Amazon server, or in this case, I'm going to show Heroku. It's another service. And then you access that server, so you don't access the ESP8266 directly. Does that make sense? And let me show you that video. If I go to this, open up my videos, it's gotta remember what it's called, but this, I think it's this guy right here. I'll post the link on the chat, that way it's easier for you to find it. But yeah, so have a look and ask me if you have any questions. I use this service called Heroku, where you can run web applications, and I wrote a web application, which is just a fancy word for a website. It's a glorified website, but you gotta do other things so that that website is shown, and that website doesn't live on the ESP8266. It lives on the page that I thought I had my screen up. Sorry, I'm still getting used to streaming. So I was pointing at the screen before, and I was showing you, oh, you have this service, or you have this service, and I had my workbench camera going. So I apologize for that. But these are the websites I was referring to. ThinkSpeak is one of them. UBDots, it's another, where they do the things for you. And this is the one of video that I'm going to post on the chat. And this is where you run your own web applications. And I wrote it in Python. And again, it's a web application so that it just displays a website, or runs a website that you can do this triangulation, like that website, and your ESP8266 on your local network. And yeah, let me just paste the link on the chat. Yeah, that's another way achieve that. Tunnel services, but that's the same as, port forwarding on your router. You're opening holes on your local network, incoming holes, right? Because I don't advise that, because then you gotta make sure you firewall it or whatever, and there's a lot of people with free time in their hands that get up to no good. Whereas the way I'm suggesting with this website called Heroku, or this web application called Heroku, or running on Heroku, then you don't open up a hole on your local network to the wide area internet, right? You're just telling your ESP8266 to send data or query for data from the server running on the Heroku cloud service. So let me see. I think I missed a couple of messages. How can we save our SD card data from stealing our programs? So Raspberry Pi password is not enough to protect. You could encrypt the contents of the SD card, and that gets a little bit better, and it's not trivial to do. But it's really, really, really hard. The number one rule against hacking is not let people have physical access to the information, right? Like, once people have physical access, whether it's your computer, your SD card, anything, like if you have physical access, and all bets are off. But you have a lot of ways to deter most people, right? Because there's only a few people relative to everybody with a computer or bad intentions. Only a few of them are able to be smart enough to know how to crack a password and all that. But password protection, that's the easiest one, right? If I have physical access to your SD card, I can use that. I don't have to be a coder. I can just download a tool, do a Google search, download a tool, and brute force my way through cracking that password. So the best way would be to, obviously, it's an obvious thing, but just be careful with who gets access to the SD card. And secondly, try to look into encrypting the files that you need to protect. So, because even binary files, right? If you compile something on C or C++, right, and you only release the executable, which is a binary file, it's not a text readable file, those still can be reverse engineered. So yeah, it's a tricky business. All right. And then so at Chifa, yeah, so the tunnel services, going back to that, it's again just like opening up a hole. But they're useful, right? If you do tunneling over SSH, that's the data is encrypted. So even if you have what's called man in the middle attacks, someone between you, because you're gonna be on the wide area network, right? You're gonna be out in the internet, and your ESP is gonna be locally. If you have a man in the middle, as it's called, person in the middle attack, the data is encrypted through a tunnel, and that gets a little bit trickier to, because again, the data is encrypted. So yeah, tunnels, it's another way of doing it. So the SD card data, yeah, just look into encrypting VAMC the files that you want to protect. Because you don't want to do absolutely every operating system file, right? You're just worried about the data, the scripts that you put in there or something like that. So you can look at to encrypt them. But if you're thinking about selling a commercial application that has a Raspberry Pi in it, that's that gets tricky as well. You can compile your programs and turn them into, again, binary executables. Do not include the raw text files that you use to program your code. That's what you're thinking? But even that, as I said, it's people are able to reverse engineer it. So right, people reverse engineer things like the Google products, like Google Nest and things that go on your home, and that's it has several layers of protection, and it runs on a very on some chip that you would need to like probe the code out of, and people do that. So you can imagine if I have access to a Raspberry Pi where it's running an operating system, if your code is in just text files, then that's super easy. So hey Mois, how you doing? The best Google virtual machine, which is the best between two of them? I'm sure I haven't used the Google VM, but all their products are for the most part great. They work great, so I would imagine they're equivalent. I've used Heroku and I'm perfectly happy with it, and it's free. I don't know about the pricing for Google VM. I'm sure they have something equivalent. Heroku is free up to a certain, obviously it's limited. You have to, it's a cloud service, so if you want a bigger database or more things available, you need to start paying. But if you follow the video I posted on the chat, I show you people how to use their service for free. So yeah, exactly. So you start working with different processors, and you, instead of using an SD card, you start using either the built-in flash memory, or you have a SPI flash memory chip on your printed circuit board, right? Like you start building your own stuff, so you make it less accessible to most users. But like I said, people with enough time on their hands and enough knowledge, they'll they'll find a way. So it's only a very few people, relatively speaking, to the number of users that you're going to have. But so you can only make it a certain level of protection. So you're welcome. Yeah, I pasted the link so I can go ahead and close this. think I was talking before and saying all sorts of things about what I was doing, and I probably had the camera on my workbench, so apologize for that. But this is what I was fighting with. I was doing and installing packages on the Raspberry Pi, and yeah, I was having some errors for, again, that Intel RealSense camera, and I was happy to find in the issues for the repository, I was happy to find an apparent solution. So it's pretty recent, November 14th of last year, and it's on the Raspberry Pi 4. I was telling you before that, this is the guide I'm using, and it was done for Raspberry Pi 3. This is the guide I'm following. So happy to find, without doing much hard work myself, an apparent solution to my troubles. No worries, Bansi. Thanks for the questions. Let's see. Oh, damn, that fruit. Yeah, I'm doing. Maybe it's for the sake of being organized. I'll create a directory called work, as I usually do, and put it there. Yeah, this is not the most exciting process, installing a bunch of stuff, but part of the process of getting, I'll show it on the screen in a second, this little fun thing to work, little Intel RealSense camera. So pretty excited. I'm gonna be working with it over the next few days, so I'll pop on the stream, see if anybody's interested, and I'm using it for a video that's gonna be coming up whenever I'm finished setting it up, and I'll do 2 videos. Main reason I started working with this, well, I wanted to work with this, but I don't know if you know, I mentioned it yesterday on the stream that I'm working with the Element 14 people. I don't know if you know about them. They're sort of the community side of this company called Newark Electronics, which is part of Premier Farnell, so just this big electronic selling companies, and they have a community side. So they reached out to a bunch of makers like myself to make content for them, which is great because they provide the toys that we can use for the videos.
Hey, I'm Caleb. My name is Andy.
So, shout out to them for enabling us to have toys like this. And I don't know, I've done a few videos for them that you're welcome to watch, but the main video will be posted on that channel. And again, when I do a live stream after the video is released, I'll post a link. But obviously I want to keep playing with it a little more, so I'll make a video on my channel as well. So hopefully you all of you enjoy it, or at least most of you enjoy it. So Vamsi, how far will LoRaWAN go? I want to do a video where I take a LoRaWAN board and an ESP8266 and say an ESP8266 Pro that has a ceramic antenna, and just set up a client and a server and start just walking away from it, and see how far I can go with the three of them. I'll go to an open field, so it'll be filmed outside, not in my little lab. And I want to compare the different ranges. I hear that LoRaWAN, those boards can go up to 1 kilometer, just line of sight. That's pretty wild. So I wanna test that. Have that communication. With just a very small antenna that's very antenna dependent and not having obstacles in front of you. So that's gonna vary greatly, but it does have what seems to be a significant different range than your regular Wi-Fi antennas and devices. All right. Still downloading. Damn. They included every piece of code out there in this repository. I'm just kidding, but yeah. Oh man, part of the fun. Go back to answering comments. Start opening stuff that I don't want to open. So on the table, this is the Raspberry Pi is under here. I don't know if you've seen on my, I don't know how recent of a video it is. I built a little remote control car with just, I put together the kit. The base is a laser cut acrylic chassis, has a couple of motors, a motor drive on top of the Raspberry Pi. So I was too lazy to break it all apart, so I'm using that contraption or device that I built for just running code on the Raspberry Pi. So at least for talking to the camera, all I'm using is a Raspberry Pi that I use for running this little robot car or remote control car. And these are just 2 USB batteries, one of those that you use to charge your phone. So I was using them to power the Raspberry Pi and be able to just drive the robot around without it being attached to a power supply, to one of those power supplies that are attached to a wall. So batteries, wheels, and then everything else. This guy. Yeah. I love my stickers. Put one there. And this is your solder. I was doing a little bit of soldering on a previous stream. I'll put that here, and like you can't see it, but a little bit further in that direction is just my soldering iron and a couple of other things for soldering. This guy who always falls, that's my little best soccer player in the world, Lionel Messi action figure. So I always have it in my streams. It makes me happy. So. Hey Mohammed, how you doing? Glad that you enjoy the videos. Thanks for stopping by and thanks for saying hi. So I'm glad, yeah, I'm very surprised that people find them useful. I mean, for me, it's fun playing with the electronics. It makes me very happy that, some of you seem to enjoy them. So thanks for letting me know. Thank you. Garrison, yes. I should wear it for every single video and every single stream that I do. Amo Argentina. But yeah, no, I don't know what's up. I guess I'm sporting my Make magazine uh, shirt today. So good morning. But all right, instead of my Argentina jersey, I keep this guy right here. He always stays by my side. And of course, I have two of them. Come on. There we go. And yeah, it's kind of surprising. I always have something representative of Argentina in every room of the house and everything that I do. So it's surprising that here in my little cave where I do my work, I don't have anything. Honestly, I'm ashamed of myself. I have just very large flag up in the living room and stuff. But yeah, I'm going to fix that. So for the next stream, I will have something. Yeah. Thanks for calling me out. No, I appreciate it. So what's going on? Hi, Syed. I'm trying to set up a Intel RealSense camera with to work with a Raspberry Pi 4. Yeah, just chatting with people who are stopping by, such as yourself. And while I'm waiting for packages to be installed, so that's the hardware that you're seeing on screen right now. This is what's going on my computer. I'm installing stuff on the Raspberry Pi, which is taking a really long time. To the spot where I'm downloading the library that I'm going to use for controlling the camera. So, it's taking its sweet time. Obviously, my bandwidth is split between doing the live stream and downloading this, and shouldn't necessarily interfere all that much because live stream I'm uploading downstream, or for downloading the library it's downstream. I'm downloading stuff, but it seems to be a big repository. I'm sure GitHub is perhaps seeing all sorts of traffic with everyone staying at home maybe, but yeah, just waiting and chatting. So taking the time to answer some of your comments, and when I say your, I mean people on the channel in general. I try to reply to every single one of them, or I do reply to every single one of them, even if it takes me a little bit of time. Yeah, and also, if I see duplicate comments or you spam different videos with the same comment, I'll reply to just one of them and delete the others just to try to keep things nice and neat. So here's the same comment on 2 different videos, and yeah, this is a third one. So then I'll probably reply to this one later. I need to remind myself, but I think I got the time right now. Let's see. Need to remind myself. Sometimes like the videos are from so long ago that that information is gone. Hey David, fancy seeing you here. I'm trying to work and perfect my streaming. How about you? What are you up to? You still working on that editing? I think I've read something like that on our little Discord, and I'm glad you were able to make this stream. So yeah, I've been following that saga both on Twitter, and it's either Twitter or Discord that you went all out, and I'm not gonna give anything away, right? To not spoil anything, but I'm definitely looking forward to the video. I think you're making a video, right, out of the whole saga versus your little Commodore 64. Oh, I see. Nice. 7 years ago. Yeah. Think willing to bet that most of us who made projects 7 years ago and were to undertake them again, we would realize a few mistakes here and there. But all right, cool. I'm glad that hopefully it's useful to you, Achita. Thanks for the kind wishes. Likewise as well. Hey, Techie SMS. I wouldn't say late. I think I'm gonna be here for a while. I started a while ago, but this process of making a RealSense camera work with a Raspberry Pi takes a bit of time. So just here chatting and answering comments, answering comments on the videos and comments on the chat. So yeah, glad you stopped by. What are you up to today? You're making videos for your channel, or? Well, I don't see a link to the code that I use for this, so I guess I'm gonna have to watch
I'm
the
Cisco
video.
with Acrobatic, and
I hate watching myself on video, but let's pretend you didn't see that. And then yeah, I should go back to my friend Gerson. Hey, it's like, where's my Argentina shirt? I'll show it on video at least. Let's see. So, I think that should be on my repository, but kind of strange I didn't put the link on the video itself. So, see what it's called. Wi-Fi modes switch. So not here. Maybe in the tips. Yep. So fix that. Then why is your file not being created? Then when is this guy called? Alright. I see. So obviously, yes, the type of code that I build or that I release is very, very bare bones. So it's not robust. I don't do error checking. I mean, it works, and I want to. It's always frustrating to me when I go and find a repository or a piece of code that I want to use, and it's just this huge thing, and I need to extract parts of it. That never works. I try to keep my code as simple, but because of that, I don't do any error checking, and this is something that is not the user's fault. Yeah, so that's the answer I have to give, and it works, right? I just need to let them know how that is. So can I explain about the string literal that I'm using in the Arduino IDE? So sure, I'll go for it. And it's a short explanation, but I'll pull a piece of code on screen to show people what you mean. So let's see. So what my friend Techie SMS is saying is, when do you use, so this is what's called a string literal, and when do you use it? What this does, this for you Techie SMS, you're doing JavaScript, so maybe you've heard of anonymous functions. They're more common on JavaScript. For Arduino, they're less common. Every time you use a function, you name it. Like this function, handle settings update, has the name handle settings update, and it's right here. It's defined right here, and you can see the formatting of when I call this on method this way, right? I need to pass it the name of a function that I defined later. For, in this case, it's such a simple piece of code that I want to write as this argument to the on method or the on function. I use method and function interchangeably, and I didn't want to give that function a name and have to define it later in the code. So because the code is so short, then that was my decision process. So I use this notation so that I don't need to give a code name to that function, and just the definition is just right here. So thanks for the question, and hopefully that answers it. Let me know if that wasn't clear. All right, yes, this finished. All right, close this, this, this. What? Really? Weird. Oh, that kind of blows. I'm gonna compare with what they have here. Yeah, this is a lot later. Obviously, I should have GCC installed at least, but yep. That's weird that CMake. Did I make a typo? No, doesn't come by default. Interesting. Alright. Update CMake version. Alright. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. So full disclosure, it's 5 a.m. local time, so yeah, my brain might get confused, so keep me honest. And I'll pull it on the screen once again. GitHub. Then it's a good example of that. Maybe on tips. I think the code I was using actually has it right. Yep. So that notation, I use it when I don't want to worry about messing up the syntax of a program written in C, right? The syntax for a program written in C, C++. It's very rigorous, and when you want to do break lines or whatever, it's it gets a little annoying. So when I work with HTML pages and they're short enough, and I want to include them as part of a sketch, then that notation allows me to not worry about using double quotes on every single line. Like if you look at other repositories, when people include their HTML pages on like in a sketch, right, they use different things. I found that this is the easiest way of writing HTML code, because then you can have your web page laid out without worrying about following proper syntax for a C++ file. So that's why. So nothing mysterious about it. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know. man, 313. All right, got 313. I need to update it. Yeah, it's called a raw, like this, raw string literal. And then you know, that's at least if memory doesn't fail me, that is just, you know, for syntax purposes. All right. I think I'm ready for proto buff. All right. Question is, do I want to clone it inside of? Probably not. Hey, Sion. Glad to see you, man. Thanks for joining. How are you doing? And, thanks for stopping by. Hope you get some good night's sleep. And yeah, and you know, keep I'm rooting for you. So yeah, keep us posted with the latest developments. So yeah, man, get a good night's sleep and some rest. So I really appreciate you stopping by. Thank you. Ah, the joys, the joys, the joys. So I should be taking notes of this because I'll probably need to do it at some point again. So tail. So automate and lid tool. Do a new wiki on my GitHub repository for the Raspberry Pi demos. Start taking notes because I've been down this path way too many times where I'll start doing something and yay, it works, get all excited, and then I have to recreate it, and it takes me almost the same amount of time. So, yeah. All right, Intel RealSense D435. And I'm going to copy what this great person did for us as a reference. I'll format it later. Yeah. Hey Pete, how you doing? But yes, it's so frustrating, and now that I'm getting a little older, I'm more appreciative of my time, and after one too many knocks, I've learned the lesson the hard way, hopefully. Not completely learned, but you know, partially. Worry about the formatting a little later. On that repository. So yeah, I'll format it later. Like famous last words. In terms of the repository being updated. Hey, good morning, fellow. I also I don't know what the word in English would be where when two people have the same name, but I also go by Cisco. For me, it's short for Francisco, which is my full name. So, welcome. What? Yeah, of course. Yep, it's alright, obviously. Ah, nice. So you also have a nickname? Yeah, nice. Mohammed, welcome. So yeah, for people joining in who are curious, I'm trying to just get this RealSense camera working with a Raspberry Pi 4, and I was too lazy. This is from a previous project. Everything that you see, I'm just using the Raspberry Pi 4 inside for connecting with the Intel RealSense camera. But I was, as I said, a little too lazy to just take everything apart. So that's why. And what I'm up to right now is just installing the software on the Raspberry Pi, which is what you were seeing before. So exciting stuff. Yeah. And then, yeah, while this compiles, just want to say, if anybody's interested in, asking questions, chatting, joining the community we're starting to form through this live stream, I'm going to paste a link to a little chat application where, for those of you who know it, Discord, so we can keep in touch and you can ask questions or suggest ideas for future projects. And I always forget the link, so this is the easiest way I have to remember is from one of my GitHub repositories. So join our community, our robotic channel community. So ESP now protocol, I mean, sure, you can ask. That's the purpose of the live stream. By all means, anybody who has a question, bring them and I'll try to answer them best way I can. I am yet to use, in this case, ESP now, so I have no answer. I mean, if you have a question, specific question, maybe I can try to figure it out. But it's one of the things on my to-do list to look at the ESP now protocol and do a video on it, so I teach myself, I can answer questions and hopefully make some content that others like yourself find useful. So, but ESP now. Like, yeah, no joke. This is my little list of projects that I want to do. So yeah, ESP now is somewhere in there. This is not. But every time I get an idea, I just write it down and I try to cross them off. And not every video that I make comes from that sheet, so I have more ideas beyond those, but ESP now is definitely one of them. I'm just a little lazy to pursue it. I find something that I consider more interesting, and then I'll do that video. But yes, I'll hopefully get to it soon. All right, so I'll boost it up on my list of things to do, because you're not necessarily the first person to ask me questions, and then I go like, I don't know. So I want to be a little more informed and be able to be as helpful as possible. So it has to connect with the router, at least the master of the network or the gateway, to get connectivity with slaves. If I can, while the code that I'm messing around with is compiling, I can look for it and try to decipher the answer. But if I told you right now, then I'd be lying, because I'm not, certain if you have to have either the master or the gateway connected to the router. So. Yeah, exactly. We're all learning. Yeah. So let's see. All right, but yeah, it does give me an idea for a project trying to combine. Sounds interesting. That the ESP now protocol between the devices, and trying to use Wi-Fi to push the data up to the web somewhere, kind of like this question. So like I said, I'll bump it on my list, and hopefully fast enough that you can find it useful. But you and others, like I said, this is probably the third question I've had in the past 2 weeks about it, and I'm like, I don't know. So. What are you using them for, if you don't mind me asking, and if it's information that can be made public? I'd be curious to see what kind of application are you using the boards in, like. Thanks for joining the Discord, by the way. But yeah, no, I think this is gonna take a ridiculous amount of time for compiling and installing the library, but I think we've made some good progress. I see. So you tried it without the router, and the slaves are not stable. I see. That's kind of interesting, right? Because my interpretation of it is that it's its own protocol and it doesn't need to be connected to a router, right? All the boards should be running it by themselves. And just that question, the first thing that pops up on Google, it seems that they were having problems once they try to include the Wi-Fi router with the ESP Now network. But I take your word for it that unless you have it connected, the slaves are not as stable. So now I'm curious to see why that is. Uh-oh. This does not look good. Yeah. Right. Just warnings. Got scared for a second. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go take a little break while this thing compiles and probably hop on a little later today on the stream. Keep making a little bit of progress to getting that RealSense camera, but yeah, so far so good. So, thanks for those of you who stuck around for a while. We're coming up to an hour and 43 minutes of having fun with electronics. So I think I'm gonna go for a run and yeah, take it from there. Give this a little bit of time. So I will be seeing you soon, and if you however you want to remind yourselves that right now, because I'm staying at home and have a little bit more time, then the live streams will be almost on a daily basis. And if you once I get done with what projects I'm working on, I'd be happy to answer questions and even bring out some boards for working on quick things that you might be curious about. So thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you on the next one.